Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Well, the amazing thing is, we have no trouble sticking our finger on the cell phone and, watching the screen react. But we don't understand the plasma science. That doesn't compute. And if you're listening to or watching, say, a football game on the TV, how does that happen? Inside the box? Is that where they're playing the game? Or are you just seeing the energy from the game?
But when we put you in these boxes and you're going to transmute and travel somewhere, are you going to have to know anything about this, or is it just going to? I mean, I'm sure you must have to be.
Please, good evening.
Oh, come right
Good
in.
evening, Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
I'm going to solve your problem. Your discussion is absolutely irrelevant. And you are still playing with the cards and horses, and you want to understand the work of the sun. When you travel in that dimension, when you understand the knowledge in that dimension that you can travel, the whole knowledge of universe is open to you. This was in the past couple of teachings I explained. When you talk about the matter state, you have to go to university and get postgraduates and doctorate to understand, and then you become narrow-minded to one thing. When you travel in the dimension of the soul, the whole knowledge of the universe is open to you. You don't need to understand. It's part of you. The way you share your knowledge unconditionally, the share of the knowledge of the universe is open to you unconditionally. When you talk about the telephone, even if you look at that telephone and you put it in front of the salesman from Apple or the top management of the Apple, they don't have got a clue how it's done. They have one expert who's only in how to make the cover. They have an expert only who knows how to make the lens, and one expert to make the chip, and one expert to make a color. If you take any of these experts or teams out, that telephone on the table is not what you have. It'll be something different. But in the universe, you are the knowledgeable about the cover, the circuit, the front lens, and everything else, because you still think on the human level and doesn't exist. And when you become part of that transmutation or transportation, the whole knowledge of universe is open to you like anything. So you never think, do we have to know? No. But when you become dimensional exactly in that position, you'll carry the knowledge that you exist and you can survive in that position, time and space.
So
Don't worry
Right.
about, do I have to know everything? You already know when you decided to become a passenger.
You say the knowledge is open, the knowledge of the universe is opened up to you while you're in this dimension. Does it stay with you when you come back or you land in a certain location? Does that knowledge stay with you, or is it only available while you're
It
moving?
is always with you. It is always with you. It's just that if you decide to call it up and you don't want to have all the knowledge of the universe for everything in you, you only use it what and the point you need what you want to know. And it's learning gradually. And even at that point, you know what is dimension of applicable to you in this dimension or in the dimension that you travel. And so you don't need to worry about that. And at that point, you decide this is the part of the knowledge I need to survive on this point and the place. When you keep the memory of transportation and reversing back to the soul, and you go back and you go to another place, you have the knowledge of that new place. We don't have universities, we don't have classes that you go and sit and learn. This is why we say the knowledge seekers of today, if you don't understand it, you understand how to revive a soul born in Christ did. You had a discussion about the fish tank and how it's going to show. First of all, we don't talk about a fish in a dimension of the water in the tank. We talk about creating the field that fish can exist anywhere in the universe, does not need the water. Then this is how you do things, how we create things. What happened to the fish which came out of the water? Did it die? Or the earth became the tank and he breathed and became man and others? What happened when we take man into space out of the atmosphere of this planet? Would it die? Or like the way it came out of the water and learn a new way to breathe, it'll find a way to take energy and survive in space. No man will ever die in space from lack of oxygen, unless he decides to. We come from the environment of the water, and within a second we breathe. Now we are aware of the dimension of the energy of the man we call the soul. We come back to the soul energy. This is what I said, and especially in recent past. The new cycle of the life on this planet will be created through the soul, which means when the child is born through the same passage, but through the soul first, and then the physicality. Then how can the soul in the womb of the mother breathe and comes out and can breathe as well, and then can go to another dimension and still can breathe. Breathing meaning is staying alive, not necessarily inhaling something. Meaning to connect to the energy universe and being supported by to stay as a plasma with intelligence and decision. You got to gear up. Don't mix the camel bird. Be a camel, speak about the earth. Be a bird, speak about the soul. Don't mix the two together. You become a funny bird, and you become ostrich.
I was going to say this before you appeared, Mr. Kesh, to Mark.
I don't appear.
I think there's things that you just don't need to understand, that you just need to feel and go with the flow and I guess everything will fall into place. That's how I feel it.
Just blend with everything. Relax.
The problem is that you don't go with everything. Everything has already gone with you. You were not aware of it.
No, you go with the flow.
No, you don't go with the flow. You're already in the flow. You don't
Exactly.
go with it.
Exactly. And I think
You missed
what's
the
very,
boat.
what's important is to enjoy the ride. Wherever it takes you.
Everything come from everywhere to in the middle. Center. And then happen.
So is there any control at that point? I know you talked about weightlessness, and that was sort of foolish in a way, to think you've achieved something, but is the soul of physicality aware? Is the soul itself aware? Or are you just, both are just encompassed in this existence? Maybe breathing, maybe not breathing.
What happens when you die? You become part of 1,000 other pieces which all carry souls. I asked this question before. If you die on the fields, or the way the Zoroastrians used to do it, to leave the body on the top of the temple and watch which birds, which part is taken away first and eaten or whatever, does the soul of that person become part of the soul of the bird on the physical dimension? Or does the soul of physicality leaves the body at the same time as the soul of the man? Or does it become part of it? And in another dimension become of it? When a snake sheds his skin, does that new skin, which is on the skin of the snake, has any connection with the skin which is left behind? This is part of what has not been understood yet. This is part that in the coming time will open up.
The pattern with that snake left, but the skin left behind.
Yes, the thing is, the soul of the physicality of the man in the process of completion transfers most of his existence to the soul of the man, and it travels with in the dimension of.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
You don't need to feel like that is the truth. It's what happens.
I didn't die, but I have experienced a little bit, so I feel like that.
It's like, as was said, it's like electron and proton. The proton takes the electron with it. It's not done. You still carry the dimension of it, because the essence of the creation and control sits with the dimension of physicality, which is the emotion. At the moment we create the emotion, physical emotion between the soul and the soul of physicality. In that dimension is between soul of physicality and the soul. It's important for us to understand the totality of the process, but very, very strong.
Mr. Keshe, what you just described there, that would be the emotion of presence?
Most probably, yes.
Mr. Kesh, can I ask you a question off topics?
Yes.
What is sleep paralysis?
What?
Sleep paralysis. Why happen? What is that?
Did you say paralyze?
Sleep paralysis, yeah.
Can you explain yourself?
When I was little, like teenager, preteen or teen, that time I had
You've been young too one day.
that time I had a lot of those kinds of things. So I never find out what is that, what was that.
I was told there is a scientific explanation for it when the chemical in the body don't transfer so fast to create motion. But on the other hand, there's other explanations to it.
Can you tell us a little bit?
We as humans are aware of two dimensions, but we are not.
And
We decide how to manifest ourselves. And when the emotion cannot be translated, the physicality has no reaction. When at a point when you are in that condition and there's no motion, no emotion can be connected to anything. You cannot get the reaction of the physical motion out of it. It's like that someone says, "Where are you? I'm talking to you," but you're deaf to whatever is said. But we get that when there's total no emotion, but both the soul of the skull and soul of the man are fully operational. We see this, we saw this for the first time with the coma patients. Coma patients, we can take people out of coma very rapidly, within minutes. But you have to understand they've been lying there for maybe months, weeks, years, and they become conscious, aware of their existence, and then they look, the eyes see, the body goes through the emotion of awakening, but there is no physical movement because muscles cannot move. You haven't moved it for 10 years, you haven't moved it for 10 months. It's impossibility. So you go through that shock, what you call paralysis. In a way, the information and dimension of physicality don't connect. This is one of the reasons when we go through the coma recovery, we don't let patients see the physical body, because it creates a second shock, which is worse than the coma itself. They block the view. Or you put a patient in a condition that they can't see the physicality. I've been there, I've seen the position. So it's a condition that you can explain it scientifically, or you can explain it correctly in the dimension of emotion. And you can connect to it through you connecting the physicality to the soul, where the dimension of emotion zero does you control. You got to understand. If I put your hand under your head, for example, for 10 days or 10 months, and then ask you to move it, is impossible. The muscle is wasted, it's gone. And then you have to build the muscle, even if you come back to consciousness. To nowadays, when people from coma come into operation, it takes months of physiotherapy to get them going. But how come when we use the KESHE Foundation technology to bring coma, people just get up and walk, or they can see things, they can move their arms and legs? Because this is the part which has not been understood. That you work through the soul of physicality, that every soul of every cell of the body is in control of you, or you're in charge of. We said this before regarding Naomi. When there were a number of people, there were 15, maybe 20 people, member of the family on one side of the class. And Giovanni was with Naomi the day before she was moved from one hospital to another, and she was there for a month. She wouldn't move anything. And within minutes, she was like a puppet on the string. Because we know how to connect with people, how to connect the soul of the physicality to the soul of the man. Naomi won't have any memory of it, but if Giovanni is online, you can ask. He will tell you. We asked her to move her leg up, and she does. Move the right hand, move the left hand. is the presence of our soul, which creates that dimension of interaction. As prophets, we have that capability. We are the true messiahs. But for man to understand, it will take time. Christ risen dead. You can ask 20 people watch when Naomi in total coma was moving like a puppet. We know the knowledge, we have the knowledge, we can do everything, but no, what we call no magic. Because that day for Giovanni was the most important thing to see if he moves the body to the new hospital, which is a place where they take the dead. They never come back more or less from that hospital. He will see something. He asked me to go into the room instead of him. I said, no, you go in, I stay outside. We are true messengers, but we let the stupid human show itself. We know how to change things. We know how to do what, we don't show magics because it doesn't work that way. But when you teach the knowledge, then there is no magic. And it's not the first time I've done this. So you have to understand the work and the totality of the knowledge. When the soul of physicality cannot move the dimension of physicality, we are that soul, we become that soul. Resurrection is the easiest thing to do.
So when we have a sleep paralysis, which has happened to me once or twice in my life, where you wake up and you go to move, but you can't move, is that because I had a scary dream and I'm still frozen, or?
There is no communication. You see, when you wake up, what's the emotion of waking up? I have to go to work. Maybe it's cold. Maybe I have to go to the toilet. You understand? Maybe somebody pinched me. Maybe there is a noise my ear has heard. Now I react with emotion. I will wake up. When there is a gap of emotion, there is no reaction. The physicality of the man moves within the brain through its emotion. You have to create. What's the reason you wake up every morning? What is the problem when we take people who had a cancer of the thyroid gland, they take the glands out, then they live with tablets. Otherwise, they sleep for long times. Sometimes they don't wake up. They're given tablets to control, and they control their sleep. It's not being scared. It's just that the data has not been created to be placed to allocate to certain emotions to create a reaction. You can wake anybody up without them knowing. You override the emotion. Physically, on your head, there's a spot. I don't disclose it. If you go, maybe you find it. There's a spot in your head or on your head that if you touch it the right way, the person sits up, wakes up, sits up, and then they understand, why am I up? What's going on? Why did I wake up? if you have somebody moving, or let's say there's a fire, or you want to get somebody out of bed, not to frighten them or whatever, you can use that point. It just needs the right pressure, and you just wake up without any
Is it the
reason.
noise?
Pardon?
Is it the noise? Hi, Mr. Kesh.
You're shooting high. No, you're not going to get an answer from me.
So 20. The
I
acupuncture point.
I used to do it when I was young. I learned the master of body work since age of very, very young age. And I used to do that to my dad, and I used to do it to my brother. And he many times woke up, he says, "You've done that to me again. Don't do it. Don't wake me up." I said, "But I want to play. You're asleep. You had enough sleep. It's time to play." You know, we'd be asleep for siesta. And he wanted to sleep more than I did, and I wanted to play. It's just one spot. You can wake up anyone. They will never know why they woke up. And you can just stand back and watch them when they wake up. That's it. Normal, as they had a full sleep and they don't know why they're awake.
Thank you. Another question. If we stay that
We've been
way,
too long. You always have two questions. Carry on.
I follow the Jalal Bhai, brother Jalal. Okay. If we stay that way a long time, so could we die?
No.
No. But I used to fight with me and then woke up. Like, you know, the Islamic world, we know a lot of dua, the surah, and I used to spell those again and again, and then suddenly I woke up that way.
Oh, this is the state of mind you set yourself.
Yeah.
So people wake up different ways.
Yeah.
There's something I wanted to, one of the things I wanted to raise tonight. We are looking for, I've received this request from Brennan, from education group. We're looking for teachers for mornings of the English language capacity. If you can volunteer for 1 day a week or a couple of days a week, just for the morning sessions for this term, or till we sort out the education side with our National Defense University for next term. If any of you can spare 2-3 hours a week on the teaching side, and you choose what subject you want to teach. As long as it's not robbery and God knows something else to do with our education side. Please contact Renan or contact the KESHE Foundation or some of the people we are in touch with to pass them.
Mr. Kesh, you brought up the 7 Valleys recently, and I know Mario has always encouraged us to look into the 7 Valleys. Would that be a subject for a student class? I was going to ask him if he'd like to broach that.
If you want to teach it.
Not me, but maybe Mario. I know you
we need in the English language side teachers to cover the morning session this time. And I was asked by the education group if any of you can do 1 day, or any knowledge skills around the world who want to teach anything to do with the KESHE Foundation technology. Because we are moving into Tehran National Defense University, hopefully from January. And then the teachings will go very high through university level.
Do you think everybody is capable?
Of course.
Okay.
It's just what you decide to teach in what direction. As long as it doesn't be the translation or going through my teachings after Thursday, because that's what used to be the pattern. In what you see as a new horizon and knowledge.
Okay. I'll see.
It's 9 a.m. Central European time till 12 o'clock.
Central European time, 9 to
12.
12.
Or is it 9 to 12? Yes. It's a very, what do you call it?
Usually there's two classes. One starts at 2 p.m. CET and the other starts usually at 4 p.m. CET.
I thought there's a morning session and afternoon session. But the classes times have moved. So we need a front session, as you call it, or if you call it that way.
Jalal is teaching at 9 a.m.
Got it?
Jalal has at 9 a.m. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. We're doing the classes, reviewing all your latest teachings.
So it must be the other 2 days. Because I received a message from Lennon. I'll read you the message. Where are you, Lennon? He says, yeah. It says, for now we have hosts for the afternoon sessions, but no one available in the morning. So if Jalal is teaching Monday, which days do you teach Jalal in KFSSI?
We are taking the part of morning from 9 to 12.
Which days?
Monday, Tuesday, and Friday.
So it's just a Wednesday, which is the Thursday mornings, is the national, what do you call it?
Yes.
Night teaching.
And one Wednesday is reactor group.
Yeah, but that doesn't go into the teaching from 9 to 1.
He's going from 7 until 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
You've also on Wednesdays you got Gatwa with agriculture also.
Yeah, that is the back section. And the medical section now is run by Dr. From Germany. Dr. Klaus is not with the medical teaching anymore. So it's just only Wednesday morning session, which they must be looking for.
Well, I think that's when Rick's class starts at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, because I usually join him at 1 a.m. because I'm 6 hours behind. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand. I understand.
We can
anyway.
make the reactor group part of the teaching.
Teaching. I have to speak to Rick. If it can be done and just start from 7 to whenever he finishes.
Some days he's got over 6 hours.
Yeah, I know some days it goes over time. Okay, sorry about that. But if you're there, I'll go back to Renan. And
the idea would be to have a professor or a teacher from the European zone who is on the American zone or Australian zone, we're completely out of in mid early morning, let's put it this way. 2 or 3 in the morning. That's pretty hefty for somebody that has to have all his lights on for teaching.
I think, Mr. Cash, it's not difficult to find a solution for that, because
Yeah.
normally 9 o'clock the knowledge seekers they are joining. Sometimes we are 15, even sometimes more than that. So it can any knowledge seeker can take over and can teach.
Yeah, no problem. It's just that I had the message, so I've got to speak to Ren and see what is happening there. Anyway, thank you very much.
We can cover up, no problem, Mr. Cash. Don't worry.
Yes.
I'm retired. I can't get up early and teach anymore.
Okay, we're approaching midnight in Europe.
Sorry about that. Try to find time and a way to get to exhibition center on the 2nd and the 3rd, first, 2nd, 3rd of October. It'll be it's a part of revolution technology, and it'll be good for many knowledge seekers to be there in that process of the change. And 2 new systems will be shown, never been shown before. And in a way, it's the beginning of a change. We try to release the video of the center next week or 2. And then they'll be leave it to our knowledge seekers around the world. It's a permanent position, and there's a lot of things which goes with it.
Mr. Cash, did you hear about Douglas?
What class?
Douglas.
Douglas, yes, we know. We are aware of it. He, KESHE Foundation keeps the right to stay silent. We don't want to say anything. We offer our condolences to his wife and children. And in a way, it was expected. You don't walk away from the people who fed you.
Okay. I don't know if there's any other questions or anyone wanted to raise any point. I did want to play about a 20-minute clip, and it is midnight in Europe, so you don't all have to stay. It's from the 395th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and then I'll play the final disclaimer, and then the meeting will end. Is there anyone else who wanted to add anything else at this point? Please feel free to come in. Sounded like a tugboat.
I just want to thank Mr. Keshe for all the work and the progress and the beautiful future. I want to thank everybody else here who has made the North American International Corona team such a success. And thank you for allowing me to present. And Mark, as always, you keeping the road clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex, for all your work around the foundation and all the different language communities, as well as all the teachers, Jalal and Rick, and many in Europe I don't even know about, Mario, I think, for example.
I think you North American continents should be very much aware that hopefully we'll confirm very soon. We start the process of opening 100 enhancement units right across US continent, or American continent. And we'll call heavily on the whole process to be monitored and be brought in nation by nation. The Arizona will be open, one of the first ones, followed by the Mexico and Canada. And hopefully we'll see Brazil will come into operation at the same time in 2021, 2022. And we would like the knowledge seekers to choose the cities where the 100 centers will. And the way we see it now, each center will be comprised of 3 horizontal, 3 vertical, 3 enhancement units, and hopefully what we call the enhancement vision units, which comprise of 12 units per center. And we have started the process, and we don't announce much more than that, but you will hear step by step that each center is getting furnished this year, and we start building. And we expect the knowledge seekers of the American continent decides on the cities and the places where the enhancement centers will be established. We have worked out the system. If our system kicks in the way we expected, then we'll see massive developments on the KESHE Foundation and the American continent.
And this will mean more jobs, I would imagine.
I presume each center will carry around about 15 to 20 people overall. The centers will be equipped with what we call the store, retail shop. The store will most probably connect somehow to different universities. It will become the centers of what we call communication with many other things. Next to it or within it, we'll open up the agriculture unit to support farmers and the environmentals. And we start that in Iran now. We're pushing it that way. And Iran is already earmarked for its first enhancement unit center. The building is already built. It's just getting it completed in the stages in the next few months. And we expect to open the center in Canada as number of units are committed to that. But sporadically we open one at a time.
But would these processing centers also be a point of creating, let's say, lots of GANs for farming? Or would that be a separate endeavor?
GANs for farming now for massive agricultures will be done through self-center units. Now we have 2 units running like this, one in Europe and one in Asia, where the production is continuously fed into the system for the animals. The system in Europe is now up and running. It started about 8 months ago. And it's very, very complicated. It's not it's not a simple system. Continuously updating, continuously bringing it for the harvesting and animal care. And now in Iran, I was just talking this evening, we have increased the harvest per hectare by 2 to 3 tons, and which is double the farming capability capacity. And now it's gone with the rice. We have gone the same way, and we have the same situation in Europe, where we have placed a factory or production unit inside a farm. It's the first one, and it's getting fully automized. The farmer doesn't need to do much, and we already have seen changes in the animal care. So the farming units will look at into farm units to be built at the farms. And very soon, very, very soon, KESHE Foundation will release a new technology. We're already testing it, where we do not see to need to have gas production for farming. We have achieved a breakthrough in technology, and a lot of technology, new technologies will be launched in the next few weeks. But we'll explain.
So like people that are here, Mr. Kesh, in this group and others around that'll probably be joining, would they be able to apply for employment in these centers? Or is there special credentials?
Not
needed?
really. You can apply. We don't accept just because you're a knowledge seeker. You have to bring in an asset. You have to be, we already have started employing. The Chinese side runs into massive numbers now. We expect by end of this year in China to employ hundreds. But there are people, some knowledge seekers and some ordinary people who become knowledge seekers. The Chinese division will run into about 5,000 to 10,000 in the next 2 years. It's a very large structure, and they started it already, but we don't disclose how and things we do because we've seen so much problem with the Europeans who create problem in China. We'll see the same thing in Europe. We will employ between 500 to 1,000 people in the next 12 months, hopefully. But you have to carry the knowledge. Those days, because you were knowledge seekers, we accepted you is over. You have to have, a specialty. You have to know something to do. When now we start doing knowledge seekers who can add, we take, and we work on a 3 months trial. If it doesn't fit, we don't see it suitable, we close the contract. And it has to be viable to run, because now the KESHE Foundation operation costs hundreds of thousands a month. It's not anymore dollars or few bits. And it's growing. It is escalating beyond belief what it is escalating to. By the end of this year, we most probably employ around about a couple of thousand around the world, the way we are going. By mid next year, end of next year, easily we'll employ between 5,000 to 10,000 operational. And these are the premises and the factories and where we are already active and working. We escalate very rapidly to huge numbers now because the foundation is set. The other structures have been put in position, and we're just about ready to take off. Or we have already taken off, but the exhibition center, new factories, and all sorts coming up. Iran is coming into operation. We expect to employ at least 1,000 people in the next 12 months in Iran. The same in China now. You've seen it, 17,000 square meter offices, everything is getting set up. The production is getting set up. And the huge sales teams and everything else behind it is getting set up. And up to now, every day we finance it, tens of thousands, more or less every week. Now it's coming back into, but you have to carry credibility for what you take. We don't take any more the way it used to be in knowledge seekers. Sitting Keshe Foundation provides holiday money and we do nothing. Yes, we are looking heavily in Austria. If you are a knowledge seekers and you understand the work of the, what we call enhancement units, we most probably need about 300 to 500 people by January. Easily, we already taken that decision and it's going through. In Mexico, we need at least 50 to 100 people. Mexico is going operational. Arizona is operational, plus the shops and farming and everything else to go with it. You have Nigeria coming into operation. And we're trying to push that Australia. You will see a lot of Australian products coming into the sales in the next couple of weeks. Everything is on the move, but we want knowledge seekers, but we are not the way we used to be. And you're a knowledge seeker, you're taken up. You have to bring niche speciality or a commitment to what you can deliver.
I know you had mentioned about improving the manufacturing of the butterflies, and with all the cell phones and all these computers on the planet, how can we possibly meet such demand? Will there be multiple centers?
It will go, everything we do gradually will go on the licensing. We have to set everything in the right way, right across the Keshe Foundation. You have a beautiful management team in the Keshe Foundation. The two ladies work around the clock getting things done. You have the people like Klaus and the others who take the responsibility, and we don't have any time for a waste wood, as I call it. We now break through into Eastern Bloc heavily. We start committing physically into factories into Romania in the coming weeks. And we'll establish gradually a lot of things. Africa is for us, South America is one of our priority lists. And Rafael needs to be supported, and now with the new push, we'll go back into what we did before Corona. Every center we open up will cost the Keshe Foundation between 10 to 15 million euro across the United States and Europe. And we are not borrowing from the banks. It's going through the Keshe Foundation structure.
So in
Will the centers operate 24 hours a day?
The factory in Austria and China are set to do so. The factory in Tehran is set for 24 hours, 3 shifts. We presume Mexico might do. We're not. Mexico is part of KESHE Foundation operation, but sits with Macrae. Macrae is a separate entity, totally. I'm the majority shareholder in the corporation. And as most of you, if you've been on the Macrae recently, past couple of weeks, I have resigned as a CEO. But I stay majority controlling shares, 100% controlling shares of Macrae. But Mexico is part of the Macrae structure, not the KESHE Foundation, but it has not been separated fully. So it still is on the operation till Macrae decides how we go. I resigned from the board of directors 2 months ago. You can read it on the Macrae chart. And we hope the stumbling block created by the White House now will be removed. But Macrae is an independent organization with its own structure and with its own operation. But we run the operations through the KESHE Foundation. KESHE Foundation is a mother company in control of the whole operation. And in most of the places we said 100% controlling shares. Unless it's special occasions, we have to by law or by different structures, we agree on different things.
What about the enhancement centers, the 100, say in this hemisphere, will they go 24/7?
Yes, most probably yes, if it can be done, but is the capability of the patients to be there at midnight? Not many people can be going to centers at midnight. But factories where we open, yes. We have to become profitable. KESHE Foundation, the way we structured it now, within next 3 to 5 years, will be as big as Microsoft, maybe bigger as Apple. We've gone through the teething, we've gone through the progressive development now. We are reaching that threshold of breakthrough. Because we are not in computers or telephones only. We are in agriculture, we are in health, we are in space, we are in energy, we are in material, we are in environment. And now we are strengthening every section in where they are strong, and we'll build up on it. And we are bringing outside expertise. We don't know, we bring outsiders to do so. And all the operation run through what we call the central office, which is Austria. But we don't announce what we do, where we go, how we do. And even the enhancement center in Linz, the Peter Files in Linz, we know the name, who they are, and the people in Germany have been finding out where we are, trying to pressurize the owners to get us out, and they told them exactly where to go. The time of mayhem making we used to see orchestrated is finished last July when they left the foundation. The people who were organizing from inside have gone. So we see quite a nice, slow development, but you have to be expert in what you bring in. You don't deliver, but you're gone. 3 months we give, because knowledge seekers needs to settle. And now in our research, we have people expert. We could not find more expert than what we have in our research centers. It's a center of excellence. The people who join as knowledge seekers are amazing, but they delivered what they do. It's not like before they come and take money and run and set up with other governments and the rest of it. We saw, as you said, with, what do you call it, the guy who just announced he died in July. The amount of time we spent on teaching him and progressively developing him. The unit arrived in Washington and the main part was suddenly missing, left behind with the hand of CIA. We are not stupid, but they pay with their lives. They betray us, they betray them, they don't take a no. We pray for their soul, they take their soul. No, we don't play games. You're employed, you deliver, you don't deliver, you dismiss. But if you're a knowledge seeker, you have expertise, you can deliver technologies or expert in whatever, you're part of the system. We need hundreds and thousands of knowledge seekers. It's not one or two anymore. Knowledge seekers in Iran, now they run and they start the factories there by knowledge seekers. Knowledge seekers negotiate with the government in Iran. They deliver. The same in China. Top structure of KESHE Foundation in China run by knowledge seekers, but they're experts. Literally experts in their work. And they make more knowledge seekers out of their work. We run 6 companies in China, active, every single one of them, run by knowledge seekers. We're a multi-billion asset organization in China. And many knowledge seekers here and in China tried to get in touch with the government. They told them, take a walk. KESHE Foundation in China was one of the biggest privately owned asset-based companies. And we own 99% of the shares of it. Actually, we own the whole 100%, but we by Chinese law, one of the knowledge seekers had to carry 1%, which again is controlled by the foundation. You join, bring your talent, we welcome you. But don't come in just at the knowledge seekers a holiday time. 3 months you can have a holiday. 4 months is permanent or the door.
Would we get 40 days like Jalal is getting? I'm
What
trying
do
to
you mean
figure
40
out
days?
40-day vacations.
Oh yeah. Hey, yes, I don't know where he gets it from, but we
That's-
don't mind having one of those.
That's
This
the
is
one
only
question.
me. This is only me. No one can get it.
I'm trying to still get the answer to that question. How do you do that?
Some people are on top on occasion. They call it Social Security, but they still work.
Well, you know, we had a rather dire jobs report. They were predicting 750,000 jobs being created, and it looks like there was only a couple 100,000 jobs created. And if you're putting in 100 centers
Where?
in the United States,
Yeah,
everyone
but don't
needs jobs.
forget, your government has come into power on the basis of new science and technology. And you're not recruiting anymore military. They
Okay.
used to play, you used to play with the army. Whenever the numbers went up, see how many soldiers were added to the list. All gone.
Mhm.
Afghanistan is empty. They're coming out of Syria. They're finished with Iraq. And when they come out, what happens with the factories they're building all these arms for? The biggest unemployment in US will come through military in the next few months. your president has decided to move back home. There's no need for tanks, there's no need for ships to carry, there is no need for aircraft carriers. All go back home, and they slowly, in the next 2 years, they'll be decommissioned. What happens to the companies in Silicon Valley and in Texas and Arizona who pushed for military hardware? Nobody has the finances to do. All the finances now are going into injections. They found an easier way to deplete the finance of the nations than by, you could kill them by the arms, you can kill them by injection. So they're going by the injection way, it's easier and pays more. $200, roughly $300 for 2 injections. 10 million people, and now they say every 6 months you have to have one, so it's a renewed injection.
Do you see any turning of the corner on this yet?
With what?
With this, you know, boosters and all this?
The only game to play will come through the space technology. And we are pushing with that. When you open the space truly as a true space technology, where, as we said in June, we're planning, hopefully, if we get everything moving the right way, a day trip to Moon and back, you break the taboo. Then the game will change. You cannot militarize Moon, you cannot militarize space. Even the Americans say now they have a space defense set up. Apparently they had it from day one, according to some reports. I still have none. We can penetrate beyond their borders anytime. As I said to the Americans very recently, you have a space defense as long as it is nothing to do with Iran. The minute it has to go to do with Iran, you have no space defense, because you have nothing to defend. You don't even have the technology to detect, let alone defend. You can only defend when you can detect. So the American space defense technology is out of the shoot. This is what I explained to most of you who are here, how we look at how the end of the wars came. The biggest mistake Americans made, they killed one of the highest ranking Sepah officers of Iran. And the smartest thing Iran did, they showed the power. From that day, we saw the Trump saying that we are not doing anything, because in a way you can't do anything. And we've seen it with Biden, because they know they cannot do anything, they're withdrawing. Because no one in the Middle East since that day has signed more or less any new contracts for arms from the United States. And they're very, I would say, keeping a red cheek, but not talking about it. Iran negotiated the Taliban deal for them to come back in orbit. Negotiation was done weeks and weeks into it. The same negotiation is completed with Iraq, the same negotiation is more or less completed with Syria. We see Americans coming out one by one, because do you want to what happened to you in Iraq in January of 20 again for the rest of your military? No. And the withdrawal from all these places is because Iran is firm for peace. We want to bring stability in Iraq, we want to bring stability back in Syria. And prepared to negotiate with all the Middle Eastern. You got to realize there's extremely strange pictures on the internet, and a few people keep on sending it to me, but you already were aware of it. There was a conference in the past couple of weeks in Middle East with some heads of the European states and Middle Eastern states, and a large number of foreign ministers. And for the first time, Iran foreign minister, stood with the heads of the nations, not with the roles of the diplomatic, what we call ministerial line. It is significant. It is absolutely massively significant because it means what it says. As I said with you, we've been through many pictures before explaining what it means to deciphering the information from pictures. The international pictures, when you look, will tell you a lot, but knowledge seekers are not experts in these things, and they do not understand these kind of gestures and works. And it comes in a very simple way. And interesting, I received this from Tehran. Amazing. I said, this is what we always said will happen. And now we're talking to everyone on a peace level. The time of what you call the past is gone. You have to understand the position of peace means you have to have the tools to show you are strong enough to be accepted as peace, as a peacemaker. And Iran has achieved that and comes with a lot of technology and knowledge. If you look at the structure of the work, we are on the right track. And we will achieve a lot of peace, and it will come with a lot of understanding from many of us. There is a need for new technology delivery to create jobs.
Mr. Kesh, it is American problem or all over the world is happening something?
What do you mean?
The economic problem.
It's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. One of the reasons we see, which is not understood, the second cycle of Corona, we will start seeing a lot of shutdowns in coming weeks and months again. Partially, the shutdowns is not for the Corona. Partially, if they bring it in, is because the population has no job. They're trying to control the uprising. The first cycle, a lot of people lost jobs, and now a lot of jobs are not there. And with bringing what we call control on the banner of Corona is to control people, and it'll be carrying on from year to year. Lock them down for 9 months, let them 3 months of the summertime free, and then lock them down again. Because the jobs are walking through the doors and windows. People are buying on the internet. They don't need shops. They don't need a lot of factories. People, impulse buying is finished. People buy on the net. All calculated. And it's the same. We heard last week, Airbus is laying down 2,000 people in Germany in one company. There's nobody to buy aircraft. Boeing is going through the same mess. There are no planes taking off. The military hardware companies are the same. The soldiers are not needed. Most
So-
of the doctors are injected with corona. They had to, and they're dying. Very soon there'll be huge lack of specialists in hospitals because they had to be injected. They die. We will find the same in the courts. A lot of judges, as there had to be a lot of lawyers because they had to be, they've all been injected second, third, a lot of gradually die.
So it is global problem.
That's what the plan was. Training now, they go for the children and youngsters.
Because if researcher or doctors, they know this is bad, why they didn't protect us? Why they didn't told us to not to do that?
They were told they can't have a job if they don't have an injection, so they all receive injections, and the second injection, and now the third injection, and then the fourth one, and then blah, 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 blah. The educated, the highly educated, then the experts, the only people who are home with safe and no jobs, they are there. And now the youngsters are going to be injected. And then I think I was saying very recently, you know, Africa will rule again because they can't afford paying for injections and the people will stay alive. And it's not a joke. India with its population will stay alive. China with its population, they can't afford paying for these massive injections, they're still alive. But in the West, all our doctors, all our scientists who work for governments, all the top people will receive multiple injections gradually.
They're pushing us to get everybody. Yeah, maybe everybody is getting.
We are working on a plan. We see how it turned out to create a new condition by and through people. We're not starting a revolution, but we're starting a scientific structure that we see the end of it. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. We start using the citizens to clean up the cities by their own action with the support of government.
So that sounds like a huge deflationary effect. Will our work be able to counteract that, or is it time to sell the farm and buy another farm? I'm not sure.
But do you have the population to feed?
Yeah.
That'll be one of the questions in the committee. Or we put all the energy into new technologies, new way of agriculture, new ways of healthier living, and the rest of it.
We don't need to raise animals to kill them. We can find another way to support people, right? New technology can do that.
Have you ever slept hungry at night for 1 week every night?
No, I didn't.
So,
I'm talking about animal.
No. This is how it'll be pushed. This is how it'll be pushed. The future sign of it, governments will announce bankrupt, they cannot pay their citizens in the West or in most of the nations. They don't have the incomes and they don't have access to borrow against. What do you think is going to happen?
I understand a little bit.
We will see, but this is the downside. The upside is the governments will start finding new ways, new technologies, and that's the alternative of doing it.
Yeah.
As I said, soon there'll be no king. People will go to the palaces to feed themselves. And the strangest thing is, all the problems of the KESHE Foundation started with the kings. And as I said very simply, I repeated many times till understood. Hillary Clinton kept me 11 days locked down in airport in Toronto. She paid with her brain and exactly the same. And you can imagine what will happen to those who locked us down this way. If you think of it, I've said it many times. The irony was when I was kept in Toronto, they told me Hillary Clinton has made the decision this was going to be. And by the hand of work, we had to get involved in negotiation and accepting a peace talk. She had to go to Tehran, to Iran, and get the brain damage the way crazy brain hemorrhage was. But it's good. The whole situation will push mankind towards finding a new solutions.
Yes, we are hoping that too. And we need patience.
We have the knowledge and the technology, it's just the governments have to agree on peace. We're not holding back. Those explaining to one of the knowledge gigs, a couple of knowledge gigs very recently. Hopefully by early next year or sometime during maybe end of this year, if we get the process sorted, we will put the machines out which will do amazing things. You got a fractured bone, it takes 1 hour to recover. You got a broken bone, in 1 day you walk. No sign of broken bone. If you have to have a operation and you slash your arm open, within few minutes you won't even see a scar. Technologies are on table getting developed. In many, many directions, technologies will be coming out in the speed of light out of KESHE Foundation, but we have to have that piece.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're facing, in a way, uncertain times, but in the other end, very hopeful times at the same time, sort of the yin and the yang, changing over from one system to another. It does sound like there'll be some rocky roads to get through. Amazing that you're putting in, if you said 10 to 15 million a center, and 100 centers, that's about $1 billion or $1.5 billion being put into the structure here. Along with all the jobs being created.
We shall see. It all depends on your president to say yes to peace talks. And we're not borrowing. The key to our investment is your president to announce, yes, he's prepared to talk peace and end up all the mayhem. Nothing more, nothing less. We are asking for any kind of support. We stand right against our technology. We need your president to announce to accept peace. And we're getting there. And if millions of people's life is more important than a president accepting peace, then he does not deserve to be a president. He has to work for betterment of his nation. The American president has to accept peace on the terms of complete peace, total disarmament. Not signing paper and 2 years later, sorry, we changed our mind. We won't allow the game played by Trump again to be played. The American president has to accept unconditional peace. And then we move. Technologies will be delivered, science will be delivered, and everything else which the nations need to move. As I said to the American delegation, and I know they're here listening in the background and the front, if you call your president the most powerful man on this planet, the head of a nation, so use that power to bring peace. The most powerful man always is what we call peaceful man. They accept peace, you get fraud of technologies, you don't know which way to develop it. But all for a peaceful application. Superiority should come through the knowledge, not the weapon. And I think your president is just about to learn that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, for being here, being present, and sharing much knowledge and many things, making us aware of many things that are coming and the options. And we are present in your wish, or if it is a wish, to see the American president lead the world into peace. I think that's very doable, especially at the position now and what we've been going through. And as you said, it's will be delivered in one way or another. Okay. Anyone else have anything else before I play this last clip, which I don't expect everyone, we're starting to lose people now. It's past midnight, 1 o'clock in Europe, I suppose. So I'm going to play this 20-minute clip and then the final disclaimer. So anyone who feels they need to leave, or you've been here for many, many hours, we thank you, Mr. Keshe, and Alex as well for delivering, as well as the other knowledge seekers that are here. So I'm going to play this. I don't want to cut Mr. Keshe off. If there's anything else you'd like to add, please feel free. But
Thank you very much. No, I just came here to be a knowledge seeker, as usual, get pulled into different directions with it.
we're so happy you did.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for all your work and support, and hopefully we'll see a lot of changes in the next few months. And it comes a lot because of knowledge seekers that continuously work and teach and bother with it.
Right. As you said, we all serve in different ways, shapes and forms. Okay, Alex, anything else before I go to this last clip?
Hard to top that. Just everybody knows that next Saturday is the 20th anniversary, so nothing to celebrate. Just an important event, and I'll try to move ahead on Sunday. You see the schedule. I don't know what's going to happen afterwards, so maybe we could talk about it.
Sure. Well, you've heard Mr. Keshe say that starting in the first trimester of next year, things will probably be coming out of the university and will be at a different level, or different teachers, perhaps. I'm not exactly sure, but there is a change in the structure coming.
Well, the thing is that the submarine doesn't have to be below the water level anymore. So we'll start coming up next week.
Okay.
So until then, all have a great
What
week.
have we missed about next week?
Saturday is September 11th.
Oh, 9/11. What are you expecting a different?
Actually, yes, I am. Because I don't know where. I remember it like it was yesterday. So we'll have to see. It was beyond me then, it's beyond me now. We just have to let the souls sort it out.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.